Good morning, good night from wherever you're watching all over the world. Today, we're going to drop a different type of style video. Today, we're going to look at the political side of police. I know we usually review police shootings, police interactions, crazy stuff. But now we're going to take a look at the other side of things. The people who fund the police, the politicians who go against the police, etc. So today's video is going to be based on an interview. So its interviewer is going to be the Breakfast Clubs, is a New York radio station, very popular, who's based out of New York, right? And they're interviewing Zohran Mamdani. Sorry if I messed that up, but we're just going to call him Z from now on. But he's pretty much a New York State Assembly member who is a rising Democratic socialist politician. Now, when you say the word socialist to me in my head, when somebody tells me what is a socialist, it's a politician who have like out of the box ideas. They are pretty crazy to my experience and to my point of view, but some of them serve some good, majority serve bad. But I let you guys dictate what you guys think about socialism. But anyways, he's a assembly member, a rising Democratic socialist politician, and he's currently running for the Democratic primary for 2025 New York City mayoral election. Now, why is this important? What does this have to do with policing? Well, he is going to try to take the mayor position, right? And his main focus is on policing. And this is where we're coming. We're going to analyze this little interview. There's a couple of minutes of the entire 40-minute interview. I'm going to tag the Breakfast Club. If you guys want to see the full-blown 1-hour interview below, let's get into this.
Here, it's a rounding error. And all of these things together, they make every New Yorker's life better, including those who are actually getting taxed.
Now, you also want to cut the police budget, and people are upset about that, right? They feel like crime is all over the place. I think a couple of days ago, 2 people got shot in Times Square. The other day, I think another girl got shot in the face in the Bronx. So people are very scared. It seems like New York is getting worse than getting better. So what do you say that, at a time like this, cutting the police budgets, that seems like that is taking more police officers off the street?
I want to be very
Correct.
clear. We are not defunding the police. What we are talking about is sustaining the number of police that we have within the police department. And when I talk to those police officers themselves, they tell me they signed up to join the police force to tackle serious crimes. And yet what they're being asked to do today is serve as mental health professionals.
That is
social
true.
Workers.
It's true.
The same officers who thought they'd be responding to shootings are picking up the 200,000 phone calls a year of mental health calls. And what we've seen elsewhere in the country is you can actually move mental health calls out of the police department. That can reduce the calls that police have to deal with by 20%.
All right, let's stop you right there. This is nothing new. The New York City Police Department has tried that and is currently doing that right now. So every time there's this program, I forgot what's it called, but every time there is a phone call or a 911 call of an emotionally disturbed person, a non-violent emotionally disturbed person, there is a behavior specialist who go there, who are trained specifically for this, and they actually go and respond to these type of phone calls. So we do that. New York City still does that, and it's, in my opinion, I don't think it's working.
And in doing so, you can increase police response time to those major categories of crime. And I think that's important because police have a critical role to play in public safety. And we also need to ask them to just focus on their job and not ask them to do every job. Because what we're seeing right now is these same politicians who have given us this lack of public safety over so many years telling us that their only answer, no matter the question, is to ask police to do more.
See, this is the issue with when you dealing with emotionally disturbed person. Like, I don't think it will work, right, to send a professional, a non-law enforcement professional to handle these jobs. Why? Because an emotionally disturbed person, a 911 call of that type, could go from the guy's very cooperative 1 second to the next second grab a knife and stab you. That's how quick it turns. Like, you don't know what's going through their head. Like, EDP calls, emotionally disturbed person calls, are the most dangerous phone calls that police officers in New York City go to, aside from the message job. The message job is number 1. Emotionally disturbed person calls are number 2. So I don't think that will work, because at the end of the day, what ends up happening from experience and from seeing it on social media in the news is that these behavioral health specialists go to these jobs and they just end up calling the cops, the police anyway.
I want them to do the thing that they signed up for, and to have a Department of Community Safety with teams of dedicated mental health outreach workers at the top 100 stations with the highest levels of mental health crisis and homelessness. We have to deliver public safety.
And when those calls come in, and people are saying, hey, somebody's over here having an episode, the police, I think, should be going out there with the mental health professional. Let the mental health professional be the person who tries to diffuse that situation.
Backing them up.
And, even if...
I mean, if you're going to have the mental health professional go and us backing the mental health professional, you're defeating the purpose of us not going. I thought that was the point. So it's just they contradicting each other here. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Even if you want, I think I can't tell you how to say things, but
no, please.
If the NYPD got a budget of $10.8 billion, does all of that really need to go to the police?
All right, guys, don't believe everything you see on social media, anywhere on the news anymore, all that stuff before you even like, oh my God, NYPD got a budget of $10 billion. Just do a simple Google search, right? So according to console.nyc.gov, which is a government agency website run by the government, right? The estimated budget is $5.83 billion, half of what Charlamagne is saying, right? And that's only 5% of the total New York City's total budget. New York City's whole budget is about roughly $100 billion. And 5.83 billion goes to NYPD and law enforcement. That's almost 5%. So the way they frame it is like, oh my God, the NYPD has so much money. There is budget. The budget is there, but it's not as big as they're saying.
They're already super underpaid, so where's that money going anyway? So why not take some of that money
technology
and invest it into other alternatives to respond to things like mental health crisis?
And that's what I've said, which is that we have to work backwards from, does every dollar we spend go towards public safety? The critiques that I've said of the NYPD have been that they don't need an 80-person communications department. That doesn't actually deliver public safety. That delivers us drone footage. Right?
He said we don't need an 80-person communication department, right? And then he goes along to say drone unit, drone personnel, gives us drone footage. Now, I've been to this building personally, and let me tell you, the volume of calls that these people have to handle on a daily basis, it's so bad that they have to take, every 15, 20 minutes, they have to take a break from the screen. Because it's just so much volume. New York City, you got to remember that New York City is one of the heaviest populated cities in the world. There are states that don't have as much people as New York City living. So naturally, the volume of calls are going to be so much that you need that personnel. Trust me.
We can actually rapidly downsize that, and I've been heartened to see the current commissioner took that 80 and made it 40. And I've also said that we don't need to have a more than $1 billion police overtime budget. And usually when you say that, people frame it as if you are going after the police. But when you ask the police, there are 200 officers leaving the department every month. And one of the leading causes is forced overtime.
So we're going to stop it right there, right? He says that there's 200 people plus on a daily basis leaving the NYPD due to the forced overtime, right? I'm here to tell you that does not sound right. That does not sound right. It's actually the opposite. If you tell a 20-year seasoned cop who's been in a job for 20 years and they're in a nice little cushy gig where they're used to making 20, 30, 40, or even 50 hours of overtime every month, and then you take that away from them, there's no incentive for them to continue on the job. They're going to retire. Why? Because it messes up the average of their pension. And that's what's happening right now. People have been taken, their overtime been taken away because of whatever scandals that happen, or this new administration are trying to change things to see if it works. Whatever the case may be, they took that overtime away, and all those seasoned cops with 20 plus years are all left. All left. They're all leaving one by one. There's lines at headquarters, people leaving. Why? Because there's no point. There's no incentive. If you're used to making X amount of money, and from one day to another, they take away a lot of it, 20, 30% of the money you're used to making, what's the point of you staying here? And that's the crisis that we're having right now. There's people making appointments because they can't even show up in person right now to retire.
Because of quality of life, they don't know when they're going home. They're working doubles and triples.
That
This
is true.
Actually, something that can make
We
it
are
easier.
working doubles and triples, and to some cops that is frustrating. You know, in the summer you want to have a weekend off here and there. You know, it's just to live a little bit and have some family time. But that is true. It is true.
Do that job and ensure that we're actually responding to this, because what we have right now is not working. You know, I sat with the family of a New Yorker named Win Res-
So the thing here is, sorry, I keep pausing the video. The thing is here that they're saying that we need to take the money away so that people won't get forced overtime and they won't leave the job. Whether it's the opposite, they need to give us the money so we can hire 20 to 30% more police officers. So then, like, there's enough money to go around to give other people time off. That's what we should be doing. Anyway, so let's go on to his next topic.
Rosario, who's a young New something that can make it easier to do that job and ensure that we're actually responding to this, because what we have right now is not working. You know, I sat with the family of a New Yorker named Win Rosario, who's a young New Yorker who was going through a mental health crisis. He called 911 himself, asking for help. 2 police officers who were trained in mental health assistance were dispatched to his home, and they killed him within 3 minutes on camera in front of his mother and his brother.
So they were trained in mental health?
They were trained. And my point here is that serves no one. That family grieves him every single day, and we all know that that was not the way to respond to this. So why?
All right. Let me finish your
actually
statement.
Look at what works elsewhere in the country and bring it here. And that's what we're talking about. Evidence-based policy solutions that will deliver real public safety.
Hold on, maybe.
All right. So he's doing is Monday night quarterbacking, right? So he's taking a situation. The situation that he's talking about is a gentleman named Win Rosario, right? And it went totally bad. I'm not gonna lie, it went super bad. But obviously, you know the information after the fact, so you can make adjustment now because the situation already happened. But so the Win Rosario situation, he did call himself. He was having an episode. He called 911 on himself because he needed help mentally, right? Officers show up, and unfortunately, deadly force had to be used, right? But we don't know what would happen if a mental health professional would have went there and attempted to confront this individual, Mr. Rosario. We don't know what would happen. We cannot sit here and say that would have been a better option because we don't know. So if you could just do a quick Google show, if the body-worn camera footage is out there, I'm not going to comment on it. I'm not going to review that body-worn camera. But pretty much, he sees officers, he grabs a knife, and he charges officers with a knife. You know, that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it there. I'll let you guys do the Google search and do your own opinion on it. But that was a very sad situation, very unfortunate. But it's very complex. You cannot just sit here and say you could have just brought a mental health professional and things would have been all green grass and rainbows. That's not how it works. But anyways, guys, this is an hour long, about actually 41-minute long interview. If you guys want to see the full interview, it's going to be pinned in my comments. Let me know what you guys think. Is he on the right track? Would you consider listening to more of Mr. Z? I'm going to call him Z, as I don't want to keep butchering his name. But yeah, this is going to be today's video. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about the situation. I'll see you guys in the next videos. Until next time, stay toasty.